Here it is, AKAPAD, our first superhero entry for this year's 31 Days of Dread, 1982 Swamp Thing, DC Comics. Let's go. AKAPADers, I just had a sneezing attack. I'm still feeling a little congested. Peter, look at here, AKAPAD69. Other known as the Film Buff, and your host for this year's 31 Days of Dread. And that's where we bring you, me and my crew, we bring you one horror movie a day for the entire month of October. And we're smack middle in day 23. I don't know what that even means. I don't know what smack middle. What is smack middle? I gotta look that up. Usually I'm good with these. But yeah, welcome back to it. We're talking a movie that I potentially been watching since I was 5-year-olds. 1982's DC comic book horror superhero adaptation, directed by Wes Craven, made for $2.5 million. Swamp Thing. Later, so we can go into the plot of Swamp Thing. Scientists discover something, other rich scientist wants it, sends a bunch of thugs after said scientist doesn't cooperate, a couple bad things happen, the thugs get revengeful, they burn everything down, and in so, some of these special scientific chemicals get on the scientist, and he merges and melds with the swamp and becomes, later to be revealed in the Alan Moore Swamp Thing comic book, he becomes a nature god, a god of nature. Now, none of that part is in the movie, but we get the origin, we get the hot girl, the monster, if you guys saw the thumbnail for this episode. But we get the very B-movie comic book monster of the week type feel for this movie. And we get a highly effective production. I mean, we are shooting on location. The movie feels like it's in a swamp. It feels like it's in Louisiana. We get really good performances from our actors. Namely, not Swamp Thing. Louis Jourdan. This is our guy. This is our Kane. He's our villain. He's our Dr. Doom. As Dr. Doom is to Reed Richards, our Kane is to Ray Wise, a.k.a. the Swamp Thing. Our Kane does not resonate in the comic books as well as Dr. Doom. But in this movie, Louis Jourdan is amazing. So I'm trying to get a couple of my thoughts here. When I grew up, Swamp Thing was the DC comic book property. And I kind of wanted to do something about this in the future. Maybe a video, maybe a couple episodes here for the Film Buff podcast. And welcome to it, by the way. Welcome to the show. Because as I was growing up, it wasn't Superman, it wasn't Batman. When I saw the growth of the Swamp Thing franchise, it was the first franchise, it was the first character that opened my eyes to an idea being good enough to others enjoy adapting it, interpreting it, playing with it. Of course, it's easy to see that in the bigger characters. But Swamp Thing, it's so unique. Because as I was growing up, we had this movie, 1989, the sequel comes out. Or, it's a adjacent sequel. Return of Swamp Thing. The look and feel of that movie is as good as anything superhero-wise that was out during that time. So we had two movies, right? And then that bleeds into a USA Network live action. I used to watch that. The cartoon. There was a Saturday morning cartoon. It had all the figures at one point, all mint on card. Made by Kenner. I really enjoyed collecting those. And in my eyes, DC Comics had the media. They somehow figured out the formula to roll out their characters. And at that time, like, the history of everything DC had done media-wise really was overshadowing everything Marvel. Marvel always had the comic book racks, but DC had everything else. And then DC Comics launches their own app, their own streaming app, their own streaming service. People kind of forget this already. It was called DC Studios. The launch series for that app, for that service, and it's only maybe like 4 or 5 years old already, was another live action Swamp Thing TV show. That also is magnificent. But as the years marched on, DC, the focus has become the Trinity, or Justice League, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman. Those are the 4 big franchises and the 3 big characters. Green Lantern, Flash, Cyborg. I mean, it goes on and on. Swamp Thing gets pushed further and further down. The significance of Swamp Thing just fades. No real comic book run. No, it just goes away. But as I was growing up, Swamp Thing was everything. And this movie, just watching it recently, brought back so many memories to what freaked me out when I was a kid. That this movie has very creepy elements. It has very scary elements. This movie is paired so well with a lot during the time. You can put this movie, I believe you can put this movie with RoboCop, and it's such a wonderful pairing. You can put this movie and Return of Swamp Thing together to show off like a pivot, how much like Aliens, to that you can still pivot within a sequel, within a franchise. G.I. Joe Retaliation comes to mind. But no, people, this movie, it's very important, and I'm getting very sentimental bringing it to you, because this, again, we're dealing with superhero horror. There's definite horror elements. Adriana Barbeau, our girl from Creepshow, she's magnificent in this. The movie is horrible. There's horrific imagery, not violence, but just makeup and the unknown. So if you're younger, it does affect you. But this movie's lost with modern day audiences. It's lost with modern day commentators. There's no reflection. There's no recollection. There's no LOVE given towards the 1982 Wes Craven directed Swamp Thing. But here on the Film Buff Podcast, this movie is nothing but recommendation. I adore this movie. This movie goes back to my childhood. I feel like bringing heat against this movie I would betray myself, but I can sit down and just enjoy this flick. I suggest you do the same. I did see it on Tubi, Tubi, free app. Go check it out. Create a quick account. I believe they even have guest accounts, but just get it. You can download it. AKAPAD. So let's kind of get into the next episode real quick, because Swamp Thing was so impactful in the comics, Marvel decided to do their own. That was called Man-Thing. MANTHING. There's a hyphen in there. But Man-Thing came back recently in Werewolf by Night. We did that last year. That was a Disney Plus drop. We did that for the 2022 31 Days of Dread. But Werewolf by Night, the 1 hour presentation of the Marvel Cinematic Universe by Disney Plus, brings Man-Thing back into the forefront. People loved it. But and thanks to Sci-Fi Channel and straight to DVD, the straight to DVD market, there is a live action version of this character, and we're going to talk about it tomorrow, because I've tried watching it a few times, and I have never gotten through the movie. Now, that doesn't mean the movie's awful. It just means it's just circumstances. But I remember when this premiered, I tried to catch it, and I tried to get it on DVD and watch it on DVD. I own the DVD because you be able to buy it for $5 at Walmart. But I just never got through this movie. But we two bucket list movies though, back to back, and you guys know my background is superheroes, so it's important to try and do horror superheroes for the 31 Days of Dread. It's always painful when I don't get to do it for the year, but yeah, people, day 24, the ripoff of Swamp Thing, Marvel's main thing. Get ready for it.